Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
They would literally strip the shelves of everything within a matter of seconds.
A major organized retail theft crew busted by Bellevue police, accused of stealing more than $500,000 worth of luxury apparel and activewear from Lululemon and other retailers all over Western Washington and Northwest Oregon. At least 42 stores targeted. Good evening and welcome to the Spotlight. I'm David Rose. And tonight, a major win for retailers, law enforcement, and shoppers fed up with the prolific thieves caught on camera stripping the shelves. They stroll in like regular shoppers, then scramble out lugging bags filled and arms full of stolen goods.
These ladies would come in, they would immediately select a number of items, high-value clothing from different retailers, Lululemon, Nordstrom, Macy's, and then they would immediately exit and leave.
In court documents, Bellevue Detective Jeff Christensen detailed their crime spree, hitting Lululemon stores from Bellingham to Bellevue and from Tukwila to Tacoma, as well as stores throughout the greater Portland area, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of activewear.
We're talking about over $500,000 worth of merchandise. And what that really translates to is increased costs for consumers.
Bellevue police say thieves often sell the merchandise for 30 cents on the dollar.
Oftentimes, the suspects would wear burqas or other baggy clothing that they were able to either hide the items in, bring reusable bags, even garbage bags that they would fill completely full with these items.
Sometimes doing it with regular shoppers just feet away. With every theft, loss prevention officers at Lululemon documented the video, working closely with Bellevue police to identify 3 suspects. 2 of them were arrested last year in Glendale, California. 18-year-old Reality Levins from Renton and 24-year-old Janice Downs, who along with 26-year-old Memory Yearby are accused of stealing $30,000 worth of high-end bags. On Tuesday, Bellevue police arrested Downs and her mother at their home on 223rd Place in Kent. Detectives say they located clothing worn during the thefts, 1 of the cars used, and 3 assault-style rifles.
What is interesting to note is that the suspects are actually convicted felons, so they're prohibited from possessing firearms.
When Janice, who also calls herself Punchy, made her first appearance in court, the prosecutor detailed multiple counts of organized retail theft.
The first one will be August 8, 2023, at the Bellevue location for Lululemon in the amount of $4,348.
The state asking for $750,000 bail, arguing that she has multiple prior convictions and is a flight risk, pointing out she had a plane ticket to Arizona for the same day as her arrest.
This is repeated behavior. This is happening again and again. There's no reason to believe that if released, that behavior will change and she will suddenly stop committing those crimes.
Down's defense attorney arguing that Janice has strong ties to the community.
She's here with a lot of support, so I don't think that she's going to flee, and we would ask that a more reasonable bail on these allegations be ordered. We're asking bail in $10,000.
Judge Rhonda Lawman setting her bail at $250,000, an amount challenged in a surprise appearance.
I just want to remind you of the Affordable Bill Act because she clearly doesn't have a job or anything else of that matter.
That's Janice's mom, Janice Wiley, her co-defendant, who wasn't booked after her arrest on Tuesday because of health issues. She wanted her daughter freed as well.
I understand, the seriousness of the crime, but I mean, for property crimes, $250,000, she has a child that she's the sole provider of.
Judge Lawman didn't budge. The high bail and an in-depth police investigation that clearly puts thieves on notice.
This sends a message that if you come to Bellevue to steal things, we're going to track you down no matter where you live and hold you accountable.
If Janice Downs does make that $250,000 bail, detectives say she's also facing charges in Snohomish County, Pierce County, Whatcom County, and Oregon. And the feds are also looking very closely at this theft ring and may file federal charges. Well, the story of one of Kitsap County's most horrific crimes, the murder of a family of 4 back in 2017, is finally nearing its final chapter. During the months-long trial, defense attorneys tried to cast doubt on the timeline and the cell phone towers used to track the movements of the 3 suspects. The jury spent 2 weeks examining all of the evidence and returned a guilty verdict for premeditated first-degree murder. Now the family of the victims is bracing themselves for the final step in their long journey for justice, the sentencing.
It felt good to see them and have those verdicts be read guilty, guilty, guilty.
The long, painful wait for Ashlyn Witham is almost over. The daughter of the four, Crystal and Johnny Careaga, Hunter Scott, and Jonathan Higgins, never gave up fighting for justice. Meeting me in the rain 4 years ago under a billboard asking for tips to solve the murders of her family.
3 years later, we deserve justice. They deserve justice. Those boys deserve justice.
We, the jury, find the defendant Robert James Watson III guilty.
She watched as brothers Bobby and Johnny Watson, along with Danny Kelly Jr., learned their fate.
We, the jury, find the defendant Johnny James Watson, as to count 1, guilty of premeditated murder in the first degree.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we can finally just put them to rest, and it's done. They will never be able to hurt somebody else again. No other family of them will be able to feel this.
It's been an extremely emotional day for a lot of us here in Kitsap County today.
Kitsap County Sheriff John Giese choking up when describing the thousands of hours of work his detectives and staff put into the case that was never considered cold.
I've never really been more proud of the effort that people in our agency and all of our collaborative partners have made.
Through the years, I was there whenever they hit a roadblock and needed a new lead, taking you to the tree farm in Mason County where Johnny Careaga's body and burned out truck were found, showing you the first look at video of Danny Kelly Jr., taking you inside the investigation as detectives met with the FBI to compile evidence and collaborate, and sharing a heartbreaking 911 call for help from a dying 16-year-old Hunter Scott.
I'm dying. I'm shot right now. My family's dead.
The grief and frustration growing year after year as family members like Hunter's mom, Carly, shared her pain with me to try to spur someone to come forward with information.
My last words that my son said to me was, "I love you."
It worked every time. Tips came in from the public, scarred and scared by the horrific violence in their community. The info funneled to Detective Lisa Gundrum, who pursued this quadruple murder relentlessly. It was her only case for 5 years, as she and her team gathered 1,800 pieces of evidence. And then, finally, 3 suspects arrested in a carefully organized operation caught on video.
Robert was the first arrest. We had that team in place early on in the morning.
The news of their capture sweeping through Kitsap County and giving hope to the Careaga family.
I want to see these people locked up forever.
We, the jury, find the defendant Danny J. Kelly Jr. as to count 1, guilty.
Even with the verdict handed down, it's not over. Sentencing is still to come, the final chapter.
All 3 of them are likely to receive life sentences.
Former Pierce County prosecutor Mark Lindquist says it could happen in 3 different ways. Because homicide is a serious violent crime, each murder will run consecutive to the others, stacking on so many years they wouldn't be alive when their sentence is up. And then there's the second way.
The jury returned a special verdict form declaring that 2 of the victims, the minors, were vulnerable victims. That can serve as a basis for an exceptional sentence up to life within the judge's discretion.
Even if those 2 get thrown out on appeal, he says there's a third way they could be serving life.
The jury also returned a special verdict of an aggravator for multiple victims killed in the course of a burglary. That calls for a mandatory life sentence for all 3.
With no death penalty in Washington state, family members tell me as long as all of the killers remain locked up forever, that will suffice and give them the justice they've waited so patiently for 7 years.
We did it. We did it. You guys can finally breathe and just rest. It's done.
Sentencing's on May 7th. I plan to be there to support the family. A Seattle woman says her dog Stevie was killed right outside of her home, and court documents accuse 21-year-old McGann Youssef of shooting and killing Stevie. Youssef is now charged with animal cruelty. And tonight, the Spotlight has learned Youssef is back at home and out on bail. Alejandro Guzman knocked on his door and spoke with Stevie's owner about the tragedy.
The 21-year-old and his mother both answered the door. They declined to comment. But according to court documents, it's likely Youssef mistook Stevie as another dog that he says had been terrorizing him for over a decade.
Stevie was my soulmate. Most unique, funny,
and silly dog I'd ever met. So smart.
Stevie was a 4-year-old Qatar street dog. She quickly became more than just a pet for Michelle Michaels, who rescued her furry best friend. The two met through her volunteer work at Furby. For the last 3.5 years, their weekends have been filled with unconditional love and endless affection. Out on the water, her favorite place.
I'm so heartbroken. I just want her here with me so bad.
Michelle's loyal companion was killed last Thursday.
And I heard what I assumed sounded like a gunshot. I didn't know. Jumped up and looked out the window. He was laying in the street.
Michelle was at home working. She ran outside screaming for help.
Some people tried, but he was still standing there with a gun. Nobody could come close.
She did the only thing she could do. She picked Stevie up and ran back home with her.
And I held on to her until her heart stopped beating.
According to court documents, 21-year-old Magan Yusuf is charged with 1 count of animal cruelty for shooting Stevie. He claims the dog came at him and nipped at his jeans. However, a witness said Stevie was just standing there when it was shot. By the time police arrived, Yusuf was home and Stevie had died.
Just took my baby.
Officers knocked on his door, just 4 homes down from where Stevie and Michelle live. His mother claims Stevie had been terrorizing her son for 13 years, yet officers noted Stevie is only 4. Police and animal control both made it clear Yusuf didn't have any cuts and his jeans weren't torn.
There's a part of me that just wishes they just knew who Stevie was. A really sweet dog.
Michelle hasn't returned home as a 21-year-old is out on bail. The shooting was actually captured on her neighbor's home surveillance. Those images are just too graphic and painful for us to share with you. Michelle's now raising awareness for dog rescues, and we have details on how you can help keep Stevie's memory alive up on our website, fox13seattle.com. Alejandra Guzman, Fox 13 News.
If convicted, Magan Yusuf is facing up to a year behind bars. It could have been longer, but a bill imposing tougher criminal penalties for animal cruelty convictions doesn't take effect until June 6th. Well, dramatic dashcam video capturing a pursuit and crash involving 3 teens. Officers responded to a call of a stolen Kia when a man flagged them down and said the people in the stolen Kia had just robbed him. Police chased the suspects who crashed in an Albertsons parking lot in Renton and then took off. Take a look.
On foot. TA, Albertsons. We're running. Put it in park. Put it in.
21, just info. Hey, we have a AK pistol here on site. High possibility others are armed.
Officers were able to catch 3 suspects ages 15, 15, and 17. They had an AK pistol and a fully loaded magazine. We asked Renton police about the recent spike in youth crimes.
We are seeing double and triple the amount of crimes committed by juveniles over the past couple of years, and it does not look like this trend is going to stop anytime soon. We need to find solutions for this. We need to be able to curb this type of crime, because at some point, someone's going to get killed.
That means accountability in the courts. Renton police say most of these crimes are being committed by teens who are repeat offenders. A body camera footage from a Kitsap County Sheriff's deputy captured the moment a missing child was found and his mother arrested. Last weekend, an Amber Alert was issued for 4-year-old Teddy Templeton. According to investigators, the child's mother, Shannon Isbell, had taken him from his grandparents' house last Thursday in the middle of the night. Friends of Isbell told deputies she had threatened to harm herself and the child. That prompted an Amber Alert. On Sunday, a deputy spotted her, pulled her over, and asked her to step out of the vehicle. But here's what happened next.
Please let my baby. On out of the car, Shannon. Okay.
No.
Stop. 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 Turn it off. Shannon. Please
Turn it off.
Please don't.
Shannon, turn it off. Get out of the car.
Please, my son.
Put it in park. Put it in park. You're going to crash.
The deputies eventually were able to force her to put the car in park and took her into custody. And the 4-year-old boy was reunited with his father and was not hurt. This next story is pretty unbelievable. A Pierce County man accused of attacking a woman he dated for 4 months. Here's the problem. The victim says she never even met that man, but that did not stop the city of Tacoma's prosecuting attorney from charging him with a crime. Despite the man's pleas, he and his wife were told they'd have to fight this in court. Robert Wiltfong admits he had some issues in his younger years, but for 2 decades, he's been on the straight and narrow. So imagine how it felt for all of that to come crashing down when a court summons arrived on his doorstep for a crime he didn't commit. In fact, the Spotlight's Matthew Smith and the investigative team proved it.
It seems reckless, and it certainly feels reckless.
It's a case of the wrong Robert. Both of these men white, roughly 6'2", and both weighing in around 220 pounds. But as Robert Wiltfong points out, it's where the similarities end.
This guy doesn't look like me at all. Zero.
You can probably hear the frustration in his voice. His wife's too.
Immense frustration. Just so much frustration.
Those emotions stem from this court summons, calling for Wiltfong to appear in court next week. Though it appears police have the wrong Robert. Because as it happens, that other Robert I mentioned, he also has the last name Wiltfong. On your screen, you have the in-person Robert. That's Robert Lee Wiltfong. In the image, that's Robert Michael Wiltfong. But when 3 different Tacoma police officers filled out 3 reports in early March, each wrote down the wrong middle name, missing their own note that the Robert Wiltfong they were after has a telltale monster tattoo under his right eye.
How can they mess that up?
Something we confirmed with the victim when we tracked her down.
That's definitely not him. Not him, that's him. Gotcha. Wow.
Sure enough, she had no clue that an innocent man was about to face a judge. A man she had never even met.
It's unfortunate. And I would be freaking out if I were in his shoes. I don't want this guy to have to pay for what he has done. You know what I mean? It's not fair.
This one particularly, for me, is just, it's a slap in the face. It's against everything who I am.
For Robert, the one we know is innocent, he was shocked when he learned about the crime he'd been accused of. All of it playing out at a Tacoma apartment complex. Robert Michael Wiltfong is accused of texting death threats before ultimately showing up, forcing his way into the victim's home, and yelling at one point, "I'm gonna beat your ass." The victim was injured when she was shoved to the ground. But the real concern is that this other Robert, the one with a face tattoo and a lengthy criminal record, is on the sex offender registry for, among other things, rape. Being tied to that just hits differently.
Why couldn't they do a little due diligence and look through the paperwork one more time to discover these things that you were easily able to discover?
We had that same question, among others, so I reached out to Tacoma's police chief and the city attorney's office. They didn't respond right away, but suddenly Robert's court date was moved up. No one bothered to tell him, so without Robert or our pesky TV news cameras, the charge was dismissed, and this note in red was attached, saying, "Charge to be removed from defendant's record." Now, Tacoma police declined an on-camera interview, but told me their system that they file reports on is similar to Outlook. If I start to write my name, for instance, it finds matches, and when I click, it can autofill. But in this case, it filled in the information of another Robert Wiltfong. By phone, a spokesperson telling me it's definitely not an easy situation. I feel for the man whose identity was mistaken. I was also told that a detective has since been assigned. They're hoping to understand how this all happened. In the meantime, Michael Wiltfong, a.k.a. Monster, has since been charged.
It's just scary to think, number one, that it can happen. I mean, these are the things you see on movies. But second, the longevity, the downstream impact that this may have.
Police departments talk about transparency, so it is very disturbing that the police chief did not even respond to Matt's email. It remains unclear why this mistake was made, but there is body-worn camera and detectives can review it. We hope that they'll get back to him and give us an update. As for the city attorney's office, we still have received no contact from them on the case. Tonight, a motorcyclist is out 11 grand after his Italian-made motorcycle was stolen from an apartment. The owner did all his own detective work, tracking down video of the suspects, even discovering the trailer they used to haul the bike away. It was stolen back in February. He handed it all over to Seattle police, but says they told him the case would not be assigned to a detective. We reached out to SPD. They told us if the Ducati is recovered, it will be returned to its owner. It's been 11 days. The owner feels it's unlikely he's going to get it back. He says he understands his case is not a high priority for police, but he can't help but wonder how many other thefts are being shelved. Last week, we showed you the video of a brazen thief disguised as a trash bag to steal a package from somebody's porch. Well, in New York City, a man was so fed up with porch pirates that he set up a trap using a dummy package. Take a look.
Oh, dude. Yo. Yo, I just didn't want nobody to take him, bro. What you got in there? Nothing, man. What you got in that bag?
Well, you can see the suspect, he fell for the bait. He sneaks up to the stoop to steal it. That homeowner jumps out of the front door swinging a baseball bat. He was able to detain the suspect until officers arrived. Police say that suspect had several stolen packages with him. Well, that does it here for the Spotlight tonight. You can catch full episodes on the Fox Local app. And until next time, be smart and stay safe.